Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Sunday, and welcome into the Sunday morning betting show powered by FTN. Chris Meaney, Matthew Freedman, and Eliot Crist here with you for the next half hour or so, breaking everything down. Maybe not everything, but we do have a couple solid plays here for you. I got a couple props, guys. It was hard for me to narrow one prop, so I may just dish out a couple props left, right, and center. 'Tis the season, right? We're giving here on this show. I just want a friendly reminder, all picks, all sports, $49.99 a month over at FTNBets.com. Make sure you use the promo code FTNTV. Save yourself 15% off. You can just hang out for the month, and if you like what you see, then you could re-up for the next couple months, maybe annual package. We are giving all the picks over at FTNBets.com, so check it out at FTNBets.com/pricing. Freedman, what is up? I finally beat you to the show doc, so I'm stealing all your picks here today. And you know what? I'm going to lie. It doesn't feel great, man. It was a little uneasy to upset you last night, although it was all in good fun, I think.
Oh, I'm sure it was great fun. And honestly, it's best this way. I don't want to be talking about the Cowboys. No one wants me to be talking about the Cowboys. Anytime I talk about the Cowboys, I lose and other people lose. So it's best for you to be talking about the Cowboys, and I can talk about another square bet that honestly I probably like even more than the Cowboys this week.
Oh, there you go. Eliot, happy Sunday, man. How's it going?
Good, man. I feel like I should tell you live on the show that I'm working on a hockey tool for you as well. So for those FTN Bet subscribers, they will have a new hockey tool coming soon.
You don't know how much that excites me. Oh,
I know. I figured, you know what? Let me just save it for Sunday and surprise Meaney live on air with it. But yeah, there's a ton of stuff coming on and complete new layout and platform. Really excited for what's going on FTN Bets, and to not have to hear Freeman talk about the Cowboys Meaney. I just want to say we all tip our hats to you and appreciate you.
Man, super exciting news on all platforms there. Yes, FTN on the rise. Look out for that. And the hockey tool, fantastic. So Freedman, should I start here with the boys? I'll save the boys. Yes, you go ahead and you give us your favorite spread here on the board for Week 14.
All right, I am looking at Sunday Night Football, and I have to say, is it super square to go with the Packers as massive home favorites? Yeah, of course it is. I don't care. Sometimes the popular side is the right side, and it feels like this is the case. Look across the market, 11.5, 12, 12.5. As long as this number is under 13, I think it is bettable, and I cannot describe to you how happy betting this actually makes me. Like, I'm not a Packers fan. I don't hate the Bears, but betting on the Packers against the Bears in this spot makes me incredibly happy. All right, I'm a simple guy. I have a few simple rules in my life, and one of them is that I bet on Aaron Rodgers in two spots, at home and in division. And he's got both of those going for him in this spot. At Lambeau Field, he's 67-34-4 against the spread for his career against the NFC North, 48-28 against the spread. And when he's at home in division, he's 24-12 against the spread. So all the historical numbers are lining up. And then you have some of the particulars. Packers coming off of the bye week. Aaron Rodgers is 11-5-1 against the spread off of the bye, 5-0 against the spread off the bye within division. And let's not forget, he owns the Bears. He still owns them. He's owned them his entire life. The Bears have been the most profitable team for Rodgers backers to fade. He is 20-7 against the spread against the Bears for his career. 20-7. That really is ownership. And against Matt Nagy, Rodgers is 5-0 against the spread. Okay, this is just totally unfair. And Matt Nagy, since his first year in Chicago, that was a great year. But all of the years that have followed since then, Nagy is 15-29-1 against the spread. Okay, you don't need to twist my arm to get me to bet against Matt Nagy. But if I can have Aaron Rodgers on my side of the bet at home, I am definitely taking it. And for the season, Rodgers is number 2 in composite expected points added and completion percentage over expectation. He is throwing the ball as well as anyone else in the league right now. Aaron Rodgers at home in division against the Bears off of the bye. Yes, I will take anything under 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and like that defense is playing so well too. And I was waiting, Freeman, for you to say that. You could have led with this. You could have just said Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears, right? The double check this, and then drop the mic, and then that's it, move on. But you did have a lot of great statistics to certainly back that up. So I'm with you on that one as well. I do believe that they win by a couple touchdowns. And speaking of, quarterbacks owning teams, how about Dak owning this division? Really, I'm going to, spoiler alert, we talked about the Cowboys off the top. I'm going to take Freedman's Cowboys here today. And when we gave this pick 4.5, heck, we gave it on Mean Streets earlier in the week with producer Tino at 3.5. It's now 6.5 in some spots. I still like it. I think that they win by a touchdown here. Usually these NFC East division games are pretty tight, as mediocre as these squads have been over the past few years. But Dak does own this division, 19-8 against the spread. And this Washington, the team is playing a lot better lately. The defense seems like it's turned the corner, but I don't believe in a lot of the opponents that they've played over the past couple of weeks. Overall, they're still 30th in pass DVOA. They've coughed up the most fantasy points to quarterbacks, the third most passing yards, the most passing touchdowns in the NFL. Chase Young, we know that he's out. Montez Sweat was added to the COVID list, and another defensive end, James Smith-Williams, this morning added to the COVID list as well. So I think that's part of maybe the line movement. But I think this is going to be a big Dak game. I think he's going to, drop back and chuck it and air it out a couple times, deep down to maybe Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, all of his weapons. Don't know the status of Tony Pollard. If he plays, he's going to be 100% here. I don't think it really matters. Even looking at Washington's defense, they've had the second most runs of 30-plus yards. So, yeah, it's been a nice story. Washington, if they win out, they could win the division. This is a huge game for them, but I'm not buying it. I think that this is the boys, and I think that they're going to be able to cover here today. Eliot, anything you want to add to maybe Dallas and Green Bay and share your favorite spread here today?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I agree with you on the Cowboys. The COVID aspect of it is a huge thing to me as well. We've seen time and time again this year when kind of they've got a lot of players on that COVID list. It really messes with their rhythm and they kind of come out flat. We saw it happen with the Cowboys. We've seen it happen with the Saints against the Panthers in week 2. They got absolutely obliterated. So I think that is something that people overlook, but I think that matters a lot. Also, you mentioned the boys so many times. I do have to give a shout out to Amazon for making an amazing TV show. But I'm with Freeman. I'm not fading Aaron Rodgers. He gave all the stats. We're getting mad at Aaron Rodgers for saying he owns the Bears, but sometimes math is math, right? So I'm going to go ahead and talk about an incredibly exciting divisional game with the Cleveland Browns against the Baltimore Ravens. It is not an actual exciting game. It's two of the quarterbacks that are playing probably the worst in football the last few weeks, right? And I don't think people realize just how bad Lamar has been. 8 to 10 interception ratio. He was started the year as one of the best deep passers. Now he's a bottom 5 deep passer. He's a guy that went from averaging like over 8 yards an attempt to about 6 yards an attempt. In the last game, I know Baker was awful, but Lamar averaged only 5.1 yards per attempt in that game. No Marlon Humphrey for the Ravens. We've seen their secondary fall apart. While the Browns are still banged up, they probably needed the bye more than any other team in the league. I think they're getting healthy in this spot. The thing that does scare me is Ravens as underdogs are money. I think they're 10-1 against the spread in their last 11, so that doesn't make me feel great. But I do think this is one of those things where everyone's out on the Browns and everyone's on the Ravens, despite the fact how poorly they've played. Right? They got blown out by the Bengals. They lost to the Dolphins. They did not play well against the Browns. They gave up a bunch of points they lost to the Steelers, who I think are probably one of the worst teams in football right now. I think the Ravens their record is inflated, and I think people are backing them. But the way their quarterback's playing and the way they're banged up, and the fact that their defense has fallen off a cliff with no Marlon Humphrey, give me the Browns and the fact that it's under. I get the hook and it's under a field goal. I like them at -2.5.
Yeah, I like them at home too. I mean, they've, coming back off the bye week too, as you mentioned, a little bit healthier there as well. And just reading up on Tony Pollard, the Cowboys are preparing to be without him today, Freedman. If you want to touch on if there was anything else I didn't say about your boys today.
No, you hit it. And I'll just say on top prop, I am betting on Ezekiel Elliott versus some of the other guys there, because I think with Tony Pollard being out, I know this is the betting show, not the DFS show, but with Tony Pollard being out, I think that means Ezekiel Elliott's going to get more workload. So within the free DFS pick tracker that we have at FTN Daily, I have a head-to-head matchup in there in which I have Ezekiel Elliott over Antonio Gibson. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Nice. I love it. I was going to give some love to our pick tracker as well when we get to props, because there's some super soft lines over at Prize Picks. There's a lot of edges that you can take advantage of. All right, so we got some sides. Freeman, we'll throw to you. What's your favorite total on the board here?
I'm looking at Broncos Lions under 42. When like we put this in the outline, it was 42.5. The line's now 42. I still like it there. I think this line should be in the 30s. Eliot mentioned earlier when we have COVID issues, it seems that teams are coming out. They're disorganized. They're not able to run their systems the way that they normally do because they're not dealing with the full array of players. And we have a situation like that here with the Lions, who are dealing with the flu and the COVID. There are reports that they might not even have a full 48 players suiting up for this game. Like they literally might be shorthanded. It's not just not having their starters and some of the backups. They might not have the full team that they would normally have on game day. The Broncos have a 2-10 over/under record, so they skew heavily towards the under. And I think that makes sense. A good defense, a mediocre ball control offense that doesn't play with a sense of urgency. I don't see either team looking to push the pace in this game, looking to be aggressive. I think both teams will be very happy to settle for field goals and hope that they win by default and not losing. So that's the kind of game that tends very heavily towards the under 42. I'm very happy to take it here. I mean, again, if this gets down into the 30s, I would probably still be betting it there. But if you want to cut it off at 40 or 39.5, that's a good number.
Yeah, I was earlier in the week. I was backing these Lions, but man, it's tough. I mean, man, not even have a full squad here and COVID ramping through some of their, their roster is pretty tough to overcome. I wanted to give some love to. I know we're talking betting here, and I have a starter sit article over at FTN. Fantasy.com, but I wanted to give some love to the split tools and just Courtland Sutton. If you were thinking about starting him today, just looking at some of the games with Jerry Jeudy and without Jerry Jeudy, he's averaging 5.6 fewer targets, 4.5 fewer catches, and 66.8 fewer receiving yards in 6 games with Jeudy. Eliot, not even 3 fantasy points per game is what Sutton is averaging this season with Jerry Jeudy, which is remarkable because he does have some big blow-up games without him. So I don't think we'll see a lot of offense in that game, and certainly not a lot from Courtland Sutton. Just to kind of talk a little bit more about Baltimore and Cleveland, I'm seeing this number's moved up according to our free parlay calculator at 43.5, which is fine by me because I like the under 42.5, which I gave in the bet tracker over the weekend. These two teams combined for 26 points the last time they played, and that was week 12, which was Cleveland's last game. Cleveland has only scored more than 17 points in one of their past 7 games, just once since week 5, which came October 10th. I'm with you, Eliot. I think that they win this game. I think they have the best 1-2 punch in football. They're coming in a little healthier with Hunt and with Nick Chubb and that offensive line. Your boy, I think that they are going to have some success running the football, even though this Ravens rush defense is pretty solid. But to your point, man, Lamar hasn't looked that great. He hasn't looked good at all over the past couple of weeks. 3 touchdowns, 6 picks in his last 3 games, missing a lot of pieces on defense. But I don't even believe that Cleveland's going to be able to, just exploit that like over the top. Is Baker going to drop back and throw the ball 40 plus times because they're missing, 2 of their top defenders in the secondary? No, they're going to stick to their game plan. They're going to run the ball. Both of these teams are going to run the rock, kill a lot of time off the clock. It's outdoors in a division game. These teams know each other really well. I've said more than I've needed to in the past about First Energy Stadium and Cleveland and how it is tough for opposing quarterbacks to play there, and even for Baker. So I do believe this can be a bit of a slow paced game. And you know what? I would take under 36.5. But we're getting 43.5, so I don't think we're going to see a lot of offense. That's what I'm leaning for. My favorite total. Eliot, what's yours?
Yeah, first on Courtland Sutton, it's absurd. I think his prop line is in the low 30s right now. And 5 weeks ago, we would have all talked about why that's the best bet on the board. And now no one wants to touch it at all. So it's pretty crazy. I agree with you, by the way, that I don't anticipate the Browns-Ravens game being a high total game. I like the Chargers-Giants under 43. I think it's 43.5 some places now as well. The Giants, I think, are 3-8-1 to the under. The Chargers are 5-7 to the under. The Chargers' entire defensive strategy is to keep everything in front of them. They're playing better run defense of late as well. And so that means that in order to score against the Chargers, you need to have efficient drives. Freddie Kitchens is calling plays. Mike Glennon is the quarterback. They have a bottom 5 offensive line.
Nothing else said. You don't need to say anything else. That's it.
Does anyone really believe that this is the offense that's going to be efficient? I don't. And then on the other side of the ball, because I do think it's important, right? Teams have blown out the Giants at times. No Keenan Allen, I think, is pretty massive from a drive perspective because he's the underneath guy. So I know everyone's like, oh, Jalen Guyton is going to replace him. They don't really do the same thing. Josh Palmer is nowhere near what Keenan Allen is. That's his go-to chain mover. So I think that this is going to be an ugly game. The Chargers probably cover, but I think it's something like 24-10. You know, the Giants' offense is abysmal. It feels like I'm not doing enough justice to the word abysmal when I talk about the Giants' offense right now. So no Jason Garrett, but it's somehow still awful. So yeah, I like the under in the spot.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I was trying to think of what word you were going to say when you said the Giants offense is. There's so many different ways that you could have gone there. And you could have just been like, is not good at all. It is not great. Yeah, even with some guys that are questionable, like looks like Kenny Golladay could play here, and even if Shepard plays, and it's just they're not getting anything done, Freedman, and it's been a couple years now, but they're in a tough spot here, you know, going to second and third string quarterbacks and second and third string play callers in New York.
Yeah, it's disgusting. The taintedness that comes with Jason Garrett is not so easily washed away. It'll take a while for them to remove themselves from that. But yeah, horrible situation for the Giants. And I agree with Eliot. I think that means the under is the sharp play here.
All right, let's turn our attention to props. There was one I wanted to give when I was talking about the Baltimore and Cleveland game. I'll save that in a little bit, but we will let you lead us off here, your favorite prop on the board. I got a feeling, actually, I don't even know what it is. Tell me it's an under, though, on some random player.
Oh, it absolutely is an under on a guy that maybe at this point is the number 3, maybe even kind of number 4, borderline number 4 wide receiver in his offense. DeMarcus Robinson, under 16.5 yards receiving. I bet this last week. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. He had 2 targets, which he turned into 22 yards. I'm going back to it again. I bet this at BetMGM, but this is the number that's fairly consensus across the industry. Robinson has just 2 targets over his past 2 games. That's not 2 targets in each of his past 2 games. That's just 2 targets in 2 games. He's now beneath Byron Pringle on the depth chart. In weeks 1 through 8, he had 33 routes per game. Over the past month, he has 18.5 routes per game. He is not important at all within that offense. And going against the Raiders, they might get out to a big lead. Maybe they run the ball more, so he's not even out there running a lot of routes. I just don't see a situation for DeMarcus Robinson getting over this number. And if he gets over the number, I think it's barely getting over the number. And if he doesn't, I think it's because he has 0 to 8 yards receiving. So I will take the under here, 16.5 yards receiving.
I love it. Yeah, he's not going to get the over because all the yards are going to go to Travis Kelce and they're going to go to Tyreek Hill. Both of those guys, I mean, they have a history of just owning this Las Vegas team. And I think this Raiders squad is absolutely broken. They've gone through so much adversity over the past few weeks. They can't really get anything going offensively, and they just have not been able to stop Kansas City. I know last year they had a win against them. They almost had 2 wins against Kansas City, but those were high-powered offensive games, and the Chiefs rolled. So for Kelce against Las Vegas over his last 3 games, he's averaging 10.6 targets, 8 grabs at 118 yards. His receiving yard prop is 70.5. At FanDuel, it's minus 110. You look at our prop shop, Caesars has him at 75.5. DK has him at 75.5. BetMGM has him at 75.5. Where's the best number to get? It's PrizePicks. It's prizepicks.com at 68.5. I have him in there in a 2-pick entry. You can check out FTNdaily.com. Check up at the top. You'll see the DFS picks. We're all given prize picks plays. We're given underdog plays. We're given jock market plays. Monkey Knife Fight. We are given all kinds of plays over there. Use the promo code FTN. And the best thing about prize picks, in my opinion, is you don't have to go 3 for 3. It's all up to you. You go 2 for 2 if you want to put an under with Robinson and Eliot's next prop here and Travis Kelce. If you just want to pick 2 of the 3, 2 for 2, that's a 2-to-1. If you wanted to go, hey, I want to put 4 props into my pick entry, you go 3 for 4. That's a profit as well, 4-to-1. If you think you can go 4 for 4, that's 9-to-1 a payout. So use that promo code FTN and they'll match your first deposit up to 100%. But for Kelce here, it's not just those 3 games and just earlier in the season where he had 118 yards. His last few games, just last year, 22 targets, 16 grabs, and 235 yards against this Raiders secondary as well. So they've struggled against the tight end, but they have struggled against Kelsey, and Tyreek Hill has had their way against them as well. So I don't think that that's going to change here. His catch prop is at 5.5, and I think he gets there as well. But again, a little bit of love to our bet tracker over at, it's free too, by the way, over at ftndaily.com. Eliot, what do you got?
So this feels absurd. Cooper Kupp over 93.5 receiving yards. It's anywhere between 91.5 right now on DraftKings and 95.5 over on FanDuel. Kupp has gone for 92 or more yards in all but one game this season. Like, this dude is something else. His season low of targets is 9. Like, what? And I understand the people are going to say the one game that he didn't go over this number, which is, 93.5, I guess technically 2 games, right? But if we're talking about the 91.5, was against the Arizona Cardinals. But he saw 13 targets in that game, only caught 5 passes. I think he's going to bounce back, and like in our new NFL prop tool on FTNBet.com, he has the largest over difference of any receiver. Like, do you understand how absurd? He's projected for 101 yards by Jeff Ratcliffe, who's like as accurate as there is in the entire industry. And Jeff's projections are naturally conservative. He leans towards all unders, and he has Cooper Kupp projected for 101 yards. Last week against the Jaguars, Kupp had 0 yards in the first quarter, and people are like, "Oh man, I guess it's over." And you look up 10 minutes later, he's got 115 yards. There he goes. I know it's a Monday night football game, but like Kupp over 91.5 yards to me just seems like a slam dunk play.
Yeah, man, what he's doing is phenomenal. I mean, he's such a terrific he's such a terrific pass catcher and a great route runner, right? I mean, him and McVay they're having so much fun out there. And I don't know if you guys caught Cooper Kupp after the game last week talking about just some of the routes that he was running. Didn't he sound like Sean McVay? It's like those two are just cloned together. The way he was talking about just the play, how it was drawn up, and the safety comes over the top, and then boom, it's wide open to left. Like and talking a mile a minute too. Like these two guys are they're absolutely in their element and they're feeling it. Yeah, it is a high number, Eliot, but it's one that I can back for sure. And you are dead on, man. Like what I've noticed from Ratcliffe, yes, a few things. He is obviously very, very sharp, but when he puts his projections in over the last couple of years over at FTN Fantasy, FTN Daily, FTN Bets, he is conservative. He is super conservative, and we've been giving him a lot of love on Mean Streets. He had the Claypool projection at 59.5 for his receiving yards. All books had him at high 40s, low 50s, and at Prize Picks mid 40s, and he crushed that as well. So yeah, Ratcliffe has been killing it for us over at FTN with his projections and his rankings. Anything else, guys, you want to get off your chest here before we get going? Freedman, is there anything else you're nodding your head? I know you probably want to hear a same game parlay, but do you have anything you wanted to get off your chest here before we wrap up?
Yeah, so 3 things. I definitely want to hear a same game parlay from Eliot. I will give a little tease. I would say that I think a decent one that you could put into a same game parlay is Deshaun Jackson combining something that has to do with a touchdown and yards. Because if he gets a touchdown, he's getting a ton of yards that goes along with it. That feels kind of like a freebie. And sticking with that game, you talked about Kelsey. It's not just Kelsey this year, not Kelsey last year. Kelsey in his past 10 games against the Raiders, 989 yards, nice 69 receptions. He totally dominates the Raiders. He's done it forever, since 2016 when he was first an All-Pro and becoming Travis Kelsey. He's dominated that team. And then to Eliot's point, totally with him on the Cooper Kupp love. He's like a quarterback playing slot receiver. Like he has that type of way of breaking down the defense. So absolutely with both of you guys on your prop calls.
Man, that talk about eating a team up and owning a team. Like, is that the theme of the show here with Rodgers owning the Packers and Dak owning the NFC East and Travis Kelsey absolutely owning the Raiders is crazy. Eliot, before we throw to you, there was one prop, and I made our guy George change from Jarvis Landry, the graphic from Landry on the under, to Devonta Freeman. This is his backfield. It's crazy to say. I would never think that he hasn't been that efficient either, but it is his backfield, and props are not giving him a ton of respect. 11.5 rushing attempts is something that he's done pretty easily over the past couple of games, and 2.5 catches at plus 125 as well. 5 grabs on 8 targets last week. He's had at least 3 catches in 3 of his past 4. So I don't know, maybe a same game parlay with unders for totals and other props inside that game. But I do believe Freeman will top 11 carries, and I think he'll get a couple catches out of the backfield as well. He owned the snaps and owned the routes last week, just comparing him and Latavius Murray in there. So I think Freeman's on the board as well. All right, we'll get out of here on this same game parlay. You got one?
Yeah, I unfortunately I had one that was 70-1, and it's dead. It's not dead now, but it's down to 10-1 because Elijah Moore got rolled out. So I had Elijah Moore 100+ yards receiving. He's had the highest weighted opportunity score of any player in the last 3 weeks. He was considered day-to-day with a quad, and then he got put on injured reserve, so that went kaput. And then it was running it back with Alvin Kamara, 100+ rushing yards and 2+ touchdowns. Obviously, that's a lot. He's only got over 100 rushing yards once this year. I don't really believe that running backs get eased back in. I think that when they're good to go, they throw them out there. And the Jets' run defense, 2 running backs alone, is giving up 1.8 touchdowns per game and 118 yards. So I think that Kamara could have a massive game. But now that if I just use Kamara, it's only 10-1. But I will throw this one out there. Freeman mentioned Deshaun Jackson and Travis Kelce. If you take Travis Kelce 100+ yards and a touchdown and run it back with Deshaun Jackson to score a touchdown and Deshaun Jackson over 21.5 receiving yards, that pays out at 25-1. So like Freeman said, if Jackson scores a touchdown, I will be floored if he goes under 21.5 receiving yards.
I think we'd all be shocked. I think everyone hanging out here would be shocked. I mean, yeah, both of you guys said it. I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, when Jackson scores touchdowns, they're usually 40-yard bombs, 40-yard touchdowns. And I think Derek Carr will have to air a couple out. Guys, always a pleasure. I love getting together with you guys on a Sunday and just picking your brains. We have a whole lot more in our FTN bet tracker. Again, we have a free pick tracker as well over at ftndaily.com. Promo code FTN. Check it out. You don't have to be perfect, right? It's the George Parlay. It's the 3 for 4. You earn yourself a little bit of cash there. Shots fired. Freeman, have a great Sunday. Eliot, you as well. Everybody, thanks for taking the time to hang out. Again, FTN TV, the promo code. Smash that like button. Any questions, leave it there in the YouTube section. Circle back before kickoff. Have a great Sunday. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers.